Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my YouTube video, and here I'd like to share my thoughts on DoorDash versus Uber Eats. Now this video here is my personal experience with both platforms, but if you want to know exactly what my reasonings are, give this video a watch, and if you like it, please leave a like down below. And with that being said, let's get right into it. The very first thing that I think is important is the user interface, and Uber Eats is much simpler to me. DoorDash just seems a little bit more complicated. However, DoorDash has in-app navigation, which if you're not using CarPlay is great to have because you don't need to navigate between different apps. The in-app navigation that DoorDash has is very nicely integrated. It's from Google Maps. If you want to use Google Maps on Uber Eats, for example, you're gonna have to have a separate app, but Uber does offer their own navigation inside their app, which I personally don't like and I don't use it. I use Waze. Now, if you do use CarPlay, DoorDash seems to have just like a little bit more issues when compared to Uber Eats by putting addresses into different maps. And the in-app navigation is great, but for my personal, I like to use CarPlay. Now, DoorDash does show the amount up front with the tip included, but sometimes they hide a portion of the tip. So if it's telling you you're gonna make, let's say, $6, you might get more. Where with Uber Eats, it shows you the full amount guaranteed every single time. However, you might end up receiving less if the customer, let's say, takes off the tip after you delivered, which is possible. Another important piece of user interface is that Uber gives you an estimated time that it's going to take you to deliver, which includes the time that it's going to take you to the restaurant, the time at the restaurant, and the time from the restaurant to the drop-off location. But I don't find it exactly to be accurate all the time, where DoorDash doesn't, but they do show you the time that they expect you to deliver by, which you can kind of go by. Now, in the category of user interface, I think Uber wins, and that's a point for Uber on my end, but you might like the other one better. It is going off of preference. While user interface is not the only thing that is important, like let's say the app quality is also a big thing. DoorDash, in my eyes, takes the win on this one because Uber app tends to give me more issues, and better yet, I haven't had a single issue with the DoorDash app to date. I do have a lot more experience with Uber Eats, but the DoorDash app hasn't given me any issues whatsoever to this point. Sometimes with Uber, I have glitches where the map doesn't show right, where it doesn't show you actually which restaurant you're picking up from, where the text overlaps onto something else. It just seems like a poorly done beta version, considering that even my phone gets hot while I'm using the Uber app. And another big thing is how easily can you go online on an app. With DoorDash, you have to either schedule a dash for a specific time frame you want to go deliver if it's available, or hope that when you want to go online, the area is busy. Because if the area is showing not busy, you won't be able to say dash now and go online. You have to wait for it to get busy or go to a busier zone. With Uber Eats, it doesn't tell you how busy it is, but you can go online at any point whenever you feel like it and wait for the requests as soon as you go online. Both of the apps can send you anywhere, but DoorDash kind of wants you to stay in a specific zone. When you go online, it has a couple of boxes that it wants you to stay in. So if you go out of that zone, it might tell you to go back to the zone to start getting more requests, even though the zone you got into is still busy. And if you ever feel like going offline and going online into that zone, that doesn't mean you'll be able to, because once again, if it's not busy enough for them to allow you to go online, they're just not gonna let you go online and tell you to wait or schedule a dash. And as far as how busy each app is, it really just does depend on which area you are in. Different markets are dominated by different apps, so best bet is to try both of the apps and see which one works better for you. I will leave both of my Uber Eats and DoorDash links down below in the description. If you would like to sign up, it would help me. I get a little bit of a bonus. I wouldn't just put a blanket statement saying that Uber Eats is better than DoorDash, but it is important to note that maybe in your area it is completely different than what it is in my area. So take this with a grain of salt. When you do receive the pings, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go and take every single order that you receive. You can decline on both apps. At the time of recording this video, you cannot get deactivated by having a low acceptance rate, meaning that you can decline as many orders as you want. You can have a 1% acceptance rate if you feel like it, but it probably won't get that low. The only thing that it would kind of affect is your Uber Gold or Platinum or whatever status and your Top Dasher, because you need to have a certain percentage of acceptance rate, but I didn't find the benefits compelling enough to take those $3 orders. One important piece to note is that whenever you cancel a whole bunch of orders on Uber Eats, it will force you offline, but it's not a big deal. You can just press go back online and you're back online. No restrictions, no questions, no problems with that. And an important part is how much money can you make with each one of these apps? We're gonna go back to the same statement that your market may be predominantly DoorDash, but mine is Uber Eats, and I make 4 times as much on Uber Eats versus DoorDash. And I would say that even if it's busy on DoorDash, I tend to get lower tips versus Uber Eats. I found that Uber Eats has better surges. I found that it has better tips in my area. Obviously in some zones, DoorDash is just more dominant, but in my area, I found it to be Uber Eats. Well, you do get cash tips on DoorDash that are not displayed on the app, and they are not necessarily often, but they do happen. With Uber Eats, I've received 2 cash tips in the last 800 trips that I've done. And in comparison, you are more likely to estimate how much you're going to get paid when using Uber Eats versus DoorDash, because not only does DoorDash hide the tips sometimes, but it also can have a cash tip that you can't see and you wouldn't know until you get there, which in my eyes isn't the best option. Sure, it's great to have extra money, but usually when those requests pop up, it's like a $3 order and nobody wants to take that because it just doesn't make sense to go 15 minutes for $3. And while I would assume that different markets are different, to me, Uber Eats just has better tips and better structure with that. You do get to keep 100% of your tips on both apps. So, I mean, obviously by looking at the pay structure of DoorDash, you can see how they break it down, as well as how Uber breaks down their pay structure. I would say that the pay structures are fairly similar, but it is important to note that you do get to keep 100% of the tip that you receive. While you do have a lot of issues on both platforms with the orders, maybe you have to wait for 25 minutes to get the food from the restaurant, maybe they didn't cook the food right, maybe they didn't have the order in the first place. I found that Uber support is just better versus DoorDash. My personal experience with DoorDash is fairly limited, but every single time I had to call, I was on the phone from 10 to 30 minutes. So I'm not waiting for like, $8 trip for half an hour to get the food in my hands. So I had to cancel that, obviously. Both of the platforms pay out weekly as, I suppose, a direct deposit to your bank account if you wish to do that. You also have an option of getting a card from both of these platforms. DoorDash and Uber Eats offer their own card where the payouts are also free and you can do them daily if you wish to do that, which I don't do that personally, but some people might want to do that. And you can also do cash out to your personal accounts. However, Uber Eats charges only 50 cents per cash out to your personal account or card per transaction, up to 5 transactions a day, while DoorDash charges a whole $1.99 to do an instant cash out. And while they're both similar, this difference gives Uber Eats a little bit of an edge, so Uber takes a win on this category as well. Now, while we just talked about getting the money, you also need to keep in mind that you need to pay your taxes yourself. All your earnings are taxable, and every single penny that you make, you need to report. And since you are a 1099 contractor, you are responsible for all of your own taxes, and you need to keep a good track of all your expenses for the tax purposes. You are an independent contractor, and keep that in mind when you're earning your money. They are both equal in this category since they treat you as a 1099 independent contractor, and in this category, obviously it's a tie. They are equal. You are not an employee, you are an independent contractor. Now, in my opinion, you should try both of these apps to see which one works better for your area. And I do believe that it's great to have multiple apps regardless of how your market operates. Even if you try both and you find that Uber Eats is dominating right now, maybe that will change. And you can also multi-app. Maybe you can earn more when one is not as busy as the other and vice versa. As well as that gives you something to fall back if maybe your app stops working or even get deactivated for whatever reason, because obviously they can deactivate you. And having multiple apps just helps helps you to kind of secure a way of extra earnings like that. Both apps are fairly similar, and it just depends on your personal market, so do your research for yourself, try it out, see what works, and it just comes down to preference at the end of the day. I hope this video helped you a little bit to compare both of the apps and make your decision on what you want to do. And please leave a like on this video. It helps me a lot and it keeps me motivated to make more content for you guys. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.